Right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I think you all know I'm Ellen Groh. I'm the Executive Director at Concord Coalition to End Homelessness, and welcome to our virtual annual celebration. Greg Lassard is here in the room with me, and you'll get to see him in a couple of minutes. And we're at the Hotel Concord, as you can see, who so graciously offered to host an in-person celebration for us, but we decided it would be safer to go the virtual route. So they're letting us use all of their AV equipment. So thank you to them. I want to take a minute to thank everyone who sent their sympathies and their encouragement over the very sad passing of Julie Green, our clinical director of case management. Your thoughts were very appreciated. And in honor of Julie, we're going to keep marching forward on this mission as she would want us to. For CCEH, like so many others, this last year and a half was unprecedented in terms of challenges and opportunities. So we are going to start the little slideshow just with the sort of the agenda for today. We're going to keep this celebration presentation focused, very focused on the progress that we made in the last year and a half, despite COVID and sometimes because of COVID, and then talk about the current paths that CCEH is pursuing to end chronic homelessness, as well as the next immediate steps that we are in the process of taking now. So this whole presentation should take about 30 minutes. So I hope you've all grabbed your favorite beverage and you can sit back and relax. And we are also going to record this. So if you know people who had to miss it, it'll be available on our website as well. So I'm going to start with a quick reminder that ending homelessness is our goal. Let me see if I can advance the slide. One more time. There we go. Ending homelessness is our goal, but that doesn't mean that no one is ever going to be homeless again. In our society, that is not realistic. What it does mean is that homelessness is prevented whenever possible, and when it does happen, it is rare, brief, and one time. And our focus at CCEH is chronic homelessness, meaning the person has been homeless for more than a year and they have some kind of disabling condition. Because you can't hit that goal of making homelessness rare, brief, and one time if you have people who are been living in their cars or in shelters or in encampments for years and years. So we know that ending chronic homelessness is possible because 5 communities have already done it and sustained it. They've sustained an end to chronic homelessness in each of these communities. So we know it's possible, and our aim is to add Concord to that list. But before we talk about our plans to do that, I want to express deep gratitude to everyone who supported us over the last year and a half. You helped us respond to COVID, you helped us keep moving forward and keep growing. Even in all of the uncertainty and the fear that was surrounding all of us, you kept your donations and your pledge payments to our Safe Spaces to the Next Step campaign coming in. And guess what? We reached our goal. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Whoa, I'm behind there, hooray, hooray, hooray. As part of the Safe Spaces 2 campaign, we had an amazing $100,000 challenge match from an anonymous donor. And we met that challenge and we surpassed it. So they added $20,000 to the challenge and we met that. And all of this put us over the top and we hit our 3-year goal of raising $1 million in private donations. In all of the turmoil of COVID, we never even officially announced that we'd met that goal. So I'm announcing it now. Yay, 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 yay. And thank you, thank you, thank you. You got us there. That $1 million has kept our programs running for the last 3 years, and it moved us forward in our mission in 2 big ways that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But for keeping our programs going through COVID, when it first hit, we had to move our resource center operations outside under a big tent in the parking lot through the hot summer and through the rainy, chilly fall. And then we got the amazing opportunity to purchase the first congregational church building just down the street using federal COVID funds, so we could safely spread out inside. There were big rooms, people could socially distance, and we were able to add shower and laundry facilities to that building. The winter shelter was also able to move over there into their education wing, so we could spread out over 8 different classrooms and really lessen the chance of COVID spreading if it had happened to infect any one of our guests. And we made it through the entire winter with no confirmed cases of COVID, which was wonderful. And I want to thank everybody at the First Congregational Church for moving so fast to sell this building to us under our very tight deadline. It was a big challenge for them, and they rose to the challenge, and we're really, really appreciative. Our hope is that down the road, we can turn this building into affordable housing with some of the units set aside as supportive housing for people leaving chronic homelessness. And again, we'll go into a little more detail on that in just a couple minutes. The other thing that the Safe Spaces 2 campaign allowed us to do was, besides keep our programs running, it allowed us to create the Green Street Apartments. So we were able, these were completed at the very end of 2020. We were able to convert the Child Advocacy Center building into 4 one-bedroom apartments, and all 4 of the tenants are receiving ongoing case management support from CCEH. We did this with major funding from the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, plus $200,000 that we raised through the Safe Spaces 2 campaign. So thank you. We could not have built these apartments without that funding. And even though there's no mortgage on this property, there's still a lot of costs to keep it running year after year. We have to pay the property manager, the utilities, the taxes, all of that stuff. So we still have to charge rent, a reasonable rent for these units. But the great thing about the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority funding is that it came with rental assistance for all 4 of those units. So we're able to charge about $1,100 a month per unit to cover all of those costs. But the tenants, who most of whom are just surviving on disability payments of about $800 a month, they only have to pay 30% of their income towards the rent, and the voucher covers the rest. So that way it makes it possible for someone with extremely low income to be able to afford a fair market rent. These rental vouchers have really, they're really a game changer for ending homelessness. They're extremely valuable. So Green Street Apartments were our pilot project for housing development, and we learned a lot through the process. We learned that it takes a lot of money and time and attention to develop housing. And Greg is going to talk a little bit more. He's going to talk more about this in just a couple of minutes. I want to touch very briefly, just remind everybody of the housing first model that we follow. And this is the idea that individuals can move directly into their own permanent housing, into their own apartment, directly from being on the streets or in an encampment or a shelter, so long as you provide the wraparound supportive services to help them address whatever underlying issues are going on in their life. This is the same model that we use in our Housing First Concord program, which has been operating for over 5 years now. And in that program, our clients get rental assistance vouchers that they use, that they find an apartment on the open market. And again, CCEH provides the ongoing case management support to help them stay stably housed. That Housing First Concord program is now serving 16 people who collectively had over 100 years of homelessness before entering this program. And nationwide, statistically, this Housing First model is 80 to 90% effective at keeping people stably housed. And it turns out it is less costly to the community as a whole when chronically homeless people are housed using this model than when they stay homeless on the streets. So what is next? CCEH is putting our full attention to the goal of reaching zero chronic homelessness. Like I said before, it's been done in other communities, and we know we can do it here. And to reach this goal, we have a 2-part approach. So this is the future plans I'm getting into. First part of our two-part approach is to fully understand the scope of chronic homelessness here in Concord, because you can't solve a problem that you don't understand. You can't set measurable goals to work down to zero homelessness if you don't know how many people are homeless right now. How many people are chronically homeless in Concord? Where are they? What are their particular barriers and challenges and strengths? Do they have a car? We don't know this. We estimate that there are 100 to 150 chronically homeless people in Concord, living in a shelter, living in their car, or in an encampment, but we really don't know for sure. The state of New Hampshire and our Belknap-Merrimack region have been working for some time to create a coordinated entry system and a database that would allow us to pin that number down and keep it updated in real time and share all that information among all the agencies who are addressing homelessness, so we could work together to get people connected to housing opportunities and to the level of support that they need. So to enhance that effort that's been going on and has been taking quite a while, quite frankly, to push that effort forward, CCEH just created the new position of Outreach Services Coordinator. And there she is, Connor Spern. Many of you may know her. Connor's role, she just started a couple of weeks ago. Connor's role is going to be to make sure that every person that CCEH comes in contact with, either at the shelter or the resource center, or she'll be going out to the encampments, that each of those people is accurately included in that coordinated entry system. And she's going to be working with all the other agencies that do outreach of different types, whether that's mental illness outreach or substance use disorder outreach. She'll be working with all of those other outreach workers to make sure everyone they come in contact with is also included in that database. And she's going to be working with all of these different agencies to make sure that we are collaborating effectively and efficiently on finding solutions for each of those persons to move, so we can move that number down to zero. I want to point out that this position was funded by an anonymous angel donor. They funded it for 3 years, and we're deeply grateful for them for making this happen. We really believe this is going to push us forward enormously in our goal to get our arms around the scope of the issue in Concord so we can work our way down to zero. All of the communities, the 5 communities I showed you that ended chronic homelessness, they all started with a shared database. Sometimes they call it a by name list, sometimes they call it a prioritization list, but the idea is the same. You need to get an accurate handle on the exact scope of the issue you're trying to solve, and then all work together with all the relevant agencies with shared information to solve it. So that's the first part of our approach to ending chronic homelessness in Concord. We all know that there is a major shortage of affordable housing units across the country, and here in Concord is no different. Concord CCH currently has 7 of our clients, our guests, who've been awarded rental assistance vouchers through the new American Rescue Plan funds, but they can't find a place to use them. They can't find an apartment that's vacant, where the rent is under the maximum rent cap for those vouchers, and where the landlord is willing to rent to someone who has a history of homelessness. And most of our clients don't have cars, so you need to be on a bus line. So that's even further diminishing the pool of available units that's already so low. Too many pages. So CCH recognized that we had to scale up our efforts to get more housing opportunities on the ground and available for people who have that we're serving. We also know from the Green Street development that housing development takes a lot of time, and CCEH alone doing 4 units at a time, we're not going to get there. That's not going to solve the problem. We knew we had to scale this effort up and bring in multiple partners and pursue multiple paths all at the same time if we're really going to end chronic homelessness. So we created the new position of Director of Housing Initiatives, and we are thrilled that we were able to snag Greg Lassard to lead this effort. Greg served on our board for several years, and he's been immersed in the work of CCEH, so he has hit the ground running. So I'm going to turn this over to Greg to talk about our paths towards housing solutions. Right. Yes.
Thank you, Ellen. And Ellen said she's thrilled that I'm now working at the coalition. I'm absolutely thrilled that to have been to be part of the coalition and to be able to do such meaningful work at the coalition. It's very challenging what we're taking on, but very rewarding as well. Ellen had mentioned Green Street, and that Green Street was our pilot program for supportive housing. A lot of lessons were learned through Green Street, and Ellen touched on some of them. The Green Street, although it was only 4 units that were created, it took almost 3 years. The funding for Green Street took a while as well, almost a year. So funding can be from months to a year. The amount of time that it took the Concord Coalition, Ellen's time, was very much all consuming. So a project like that of just trying to house 4 individuals was very all consuming as well. Because there was the realization that to house 4 individuals over a 2 to 3 year period at a cost of almost $800,000, almost $200,000 per individual housed, that it was to try to house all the individuals that were homeless in our community, that it was going to be just much more than the coalition was able to do on our own. So the first thing we did is we created a task force for new, affordable, and supportive housing. And we brought together the developers of affordable housing, land use attorneys, architects, real estate brokers. It was just a great group that came together to help us basically on call. As we needed help and we needed subject matter expertise, they were there for us. Once we had this group assembled, we were able to get to work to say, well, what can we do? What is possible? We have these resources set up, but what can we do? And we created paths toward housing solutions. And I love this quote, an individual that has been a supporter of the coalition for quite some time. We sat with the individual and reviewed this, and he said, your plan is very ambitious. He said, the first thing I thought is your plan is very ambitious, but then he said, good for you. So the plan is very ambitious. However, it's ambitious, but we believe it can be achieved because of the support that we have. Just that the initial group that was there, the task force, and every day more individuals, when they hear about what we're doing, they want to support the work of the coalition and join in creating solutions. So we believe that these paths are viable. This is not an exact plan. It is changing as it goes, as we learn, but we do view it as very, very possible. So we will take it year by year and try to hit these targets that we have listed. The first one that I'd like to talk about is purchasing duplexes and triplex apartments. Smaller little units like this, a duplex or a triplex, is the right scale for us. The individuals that are living there, they can integrate into the local little neighborhood, and it's very manageable for the coalition. The cost of we were pursuing looking at purchasing small duplexes, and the difficulty was that in this particular market, there are investors out there that are snapping up these duplexes and triplexes as soon as they hit the market. So we tried, the coalition tried to obtain to be in a position to buy several of these, and the market was moving so quickly that we had to adjust. So having lost out on a few of them, we put new protocol in place. And what that allowed us to do is just recently, a triplex came onto the market. The coalition was the first to see it, the first to put in an offer, and within 3 days, it was accepted. And so that's on West Street, and within a 45-day period, two of our two individuals that are experiencing homelessness will be living in their new home. So again, a lesson learned from Green Street was that that process of Green Street took a long time and a lot of money. So this was far less cost per individual house than was Green Street, and took far less time to be able to house individuals. The next path that we're following is to build relationships with existing apartment landlords. Every one of our clients that can be housed with an existing apartment, that's no funds out of the coalition's pocket, and we will provide the supportive housing. But you know, what a home run when that can happen. Again, the difficulty is there's less than a 1% vacancy rate. So we're meeting with the existing apartment landlords, having to sit down, trying to get our clients off the bottom of the list to the top of the list. And it seems as if that's a great approach. The difficulty is that we're discovering is the vouchers. A 1-bedroom is approximately $1,100 for the housing voucher, but their rents will start at $1,150, $1,200. So although we've made some inroads, and some of these apartment landlords are willing to work with us, they just don't have units that are becoming available as of yet that meet the voucher levels as well. We're also building relationships with large apartment projects that are being developed. So when we become aware that a developer is coming into the Concord community and is seeking to build affordable housing, we set up a meeting with them. And one of the first sit downs that we had, Ellen and I were very prepared to present for a while and sing our hearts out. Within 5 minutes, he said, "I know what you're doing. I support it. In phase 1, I will dedicate 5 units to your clients, and in phase 2, 5 units." And what a big win, because again, that was no cost to the coalition. We will provide the supportive services, but it's nothing out of pocket to the coalition. And if another example of building relationships with existing is First Church. The hope is that we're working with an affordable housing developer. And the hope is that units will be set aside for our clients. If we sell that First Church to that developer, and between those two alone, that's almost 12% of the solution for the approximate. We believe there's 100 to 150 long-term homeless individuals in our community. But just between those two, as the chart indicates, it will be a few years out, and that's one of the limitations. It can take time, but if we can get some of that going now, because of the lead time, it's great to set up those relationships now and establish those hopefully commitments from them. Another path we're pursuing is manufactured home communities. The resident-owned communities is the first local little communities that we've been approaching. And one of the communities has 2 vacant lots. So because it's a resident-owned community, the residents own it, but they cannot sublet it. They have to live there. And we've been negotiating, talking with one of the resident-owned communities, and they have their membership voted in favor of changing their bylaws to allow the coalition to be able to obtain 2 of the lots and put 2 manufactured homes on those lots, and to then have our clients housed there. Again, comparing this to Green Street, you would think a manufactured home would be relatively inexpensive. A single unit is about $75,000. that we've thus far priced out. Another limitation of the manufacturer's home is they, like all other housing right now, to obtain a manufactured home, you have approximately a 5 to 6 month wait if you order it. So that is hopefully moving forward. Hopefully that all gets brought to completion, and 2 individuals, as soon as that wraps up, 2 more individuals that are experiencing homelessness will be housed. And with that model being successful, we hope to have conversations with the other manufactured home communities in the greater Concord area. Another path that we're following is cottage home pocket communities. This one is very attractive to individuals when we talk about this concept. On the left-hand side, that little cottage home, on the task force is an architect. She designed it. We have a subcommittee that is working just on the cottage home pocket communities. And what the model that we're pursuing is if we have 6 of these pocket communities, 6 of these homes in a little pocket community, if we charge, if they're fully paid for, in 4 of them have market rent, it would supplement the rent of 2 of the other units, so that the 2 of the units could have a rent of approximately $300. And the real benefit here is that you do not need a housing voucher. Almost everything that we're looking at is housing voucher dependent, and those are gold. Those are in such short supply. It's how can you create housing for individuals who experience homelessness that isn't dependent on receiving a voucher. So as we continue to pursue this is very hopeful. Where we've identified a site, we have it out for bids. We're receiving bids on the cottages. We have civil engineers designing the little pocket communities. So this is moving forward quite well. A lot of hurdles still ahead, but it's a very exciting opportunity. The other thing that we will do is, once we finalize everything, is we will put that cottage home out in the public domain, so that anybody that would want to purchase it would know where to buy it, what the cost is, and that hopefully at that point it would be the city is familiar with it and is comfortable with it. So it will assist in the affordable housing crisis in our community by allowing people to have a nice turnkey way to put one of those on their property for either rental income or to downsize. Next, I'd like to bring Ellen back up to talk about the last 2 paths that we are pursuing. Ellen?
So this one is what we're calling 24/7 supervision or supervised housing. And that's a picture of our dear Julie with a gentleman that she helped get into this more structured housing. So we recognize that some people coming from chronic homelessness are going to have significant barriers to staying stably housed, and they're going to need a more structured setting to be successful. So we're looking for partners that can provide that sort of 24/7 supervision. This gentleman, actually, Julie helped to move to a place in Laconia where there was some staff on site all the time. So we're trying to figure out how that could be funded and who the partners are, because it's not something that's within our bandwidth at this moment, but who are the partners that we can get to provide more of this in the Concord area, more opportunities for 24/7 support right here in Concord. The next path, the final path, we're calling tailored, creative, individualized solutions. And this is what a lot of our case management team at the Resource Center is already doing. This is whenever possible. This is working with individuals to see if there's an appropriate housing solution, either in their own personal network of support or within the existing resources that are available now. So it might be helping someone get transportation to go to their parents' house or their sister's house somewhere else. Maybe it's getting someone into a residential treatment facility as a first step. Maybe it's getting someone an educational scholarship that comes with a housing component. As I mentioned before, we expect that this increased collaboration between all of the agencies and this shared database of everyone who's chronically homeless is going to allow more efficient and effective creative solutions to be found among all of the people are working together. So to wrap this up, we absolutely believe that we can end homelessness, but that it's going to take the entire community working together to get the job done. And we're so appreciative that there's already so much support and so many pieces in place. We have the steering committee for Concord's plan to end homelessness, the new task force for affordable and supportive housing, the homeless service provider network that exists here in Concord, the business sponsors who contribute to all of our events with, very important fundraising tool, and you, all of our volunteers and our donors. We're so appreciative for all your support. We couldn't do it without you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are wondering how to help next at this moment, we are about to send out our annual appeal letter, so please give as generously as you can. And we're asking people, focusing now on asking people to consider a recurring donation, setting up through your bank or through our PayPal as a sustaining donor, a recurring payment. It can be easier on your budget, and it gives us a predictable source of income to know what's going to be coming in. So you can go to our website to do that, and also you can see a list of in-kind donations that are needed. We're always in need of things for our resource center and our shelter. If you have property that you would like to sell or donate to this cause that might meet the criteria for affordable housing development, you can contact Greg. He would love to talk to you about it. And finally, tomorrow, people will be continuing to paint and clean up the new West Street apartments. They're at 12-14 West Street, right down there by the McDonald's. And you can go to our website again to see a sign up genius for the things that are being done. We're getting them ready for people to move in on November 1st. So it's very exciting. And Bill and maybe some others on this screen have already been there helping. So thank you very, very much. It's super exciting. So again, your support is what's making all of our work possible, and we're so deeply grateful to be working in this community that is so caring and so generous. So thank you a lot, and hope next time we're all in person, and feel free to call Greg or I or email us if you have any questions or want more information about everything we said tonight. Thank you again.